I never imagined that the walls meant to protect me could feel so suffocating. I'm a 26-year-old woman, sitting at my makeshift desk by the window, watching sheets of rain plaster themselves against the glass. It's been 3 days of nothing but storms. Gray skies, the constant drum of water on roof and patio, and the wind that raps insistently at every door. I work remotely, so I don't mind the weather. In fact, I find it soothing. A steel blue world that cocooned me in solitude, where I could lose myself in spreadsheets and emails, safe behind my own walls. That morning, I'd brewed my coffee strong and logged into a Zoom marketing meeting at 9. Outside, the sky was so dark I had the lamps on, the soft yellow glare pooling around me like comforting breath. My dog, Luna, curled at my feet, her whiskers twitching as thunder rolled in the distance. I felt oddly at peace. Then, at exactly 11:37 a.m., everything went black. My screen froze mid-presentation. The other faces on the call vanished into gray circles. The soft hum of my fans and the distant tap of rain died in an instant. I sat in silence, the only light a single drop of luminescence leaking around my blackout curtain window. Luna lifted her head, ears pricked. My heart pounded. I reached for my phone. It lit up in my hand, but the lights in the rest of the house remained stubbornly dark. I tried the breaker in the hallway. It felt warm under my fingers, like it had been touched recently. With a flick of the switch, the light snapped back on. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. I peered out the window. Across the street, every other house remained illuminated, an amber line of safety beneath the swollen sky. Only mine was dark. My breath caught in my throat. I hadn't touched the breaker, nor had I left my desk all morning. An icy trickle of panic unfurled in my stomach. But the power had returned, and with it the coaxing voice of my boss inviting me back to the meeting. I swallowed hard and clicked rejoin. The rest of the afternoon stretched uneventfully. Charts and commodity trends, polite nods and mutes and unmutes. But late in the day, as the rain slackened into a murmur, I heard it, a soft, deliberate scuff coming from the basement. Luna jumped up, hackles raised, her nails clicking on the hardwood floor. The basement door is rarely used. I stored holiday decorations there, old furniture draped in sheets. The house settled around me, boards creaking, pipes sighing, but this sound felt deliberate, human in its slowness. My heart thumped against my ribs. I told myself it was probably a branch scraping the window, that somehow the wind had slipped between boards and against the window well. But still, I grabbed my phone and flashlight, just in case. I texted my roommate. Power flickered again. I thought I heard something downstairs. I'm checking it out. No answer. Probably at the gym or at dinner with friends. I crept toward the basement door, each step sticky with dread. The hallway light cast my shadow long and thin behind me. I flipped the switch and the bulb hummed to life, timid and yellow. The door lurched open with a groan. Luna slunk behind me, throat low. The stairwell was darker than I expected, the beam of my flashlight swallowed by the emptiness below. Damp air drifted up, smelling of earth and rot. My breath caught, visible in the weak light. I took the first step, then the next, until I reached the concrete floor. My flashlight caught a swirl of dust motes, and then footprints. They were fresh, muddy prints, the tread pattern of work boots. My basement is concrete, should be spotless, but here they were, leading from the far corner to the door. My breath hitched. I scanned the room, empty boxes stacked haphazardly against the walls, the rusted furnace, the little window well at ground level, a gaping square in the wall meant for letting in air during a flood, but now open, water dripping from the panes. I shone the light at the well and nearly dropped the flashlight. The glass was cracked, half hanging from the frame, and streaks of mud ran down the wall. Then I saw it. A rumple in the cardboard boxes. They'd shifted, leaving a crude step up to the window. I could almost imagine someone using them like a ladder, 2 or 3 boxes at a time, to climb in. My hands shook so hard the flashlight beam danced across the damp concrete. I swallowed, trying to calm myself. The print stopped abruptly at the lowest box, like someone had stepped down and vanished. Luna whimpered. My blood ran cold. I stumbled back up the stairs, each creak echoing terror through my chest. I slammed the basement door behind me and locked it. My hand pressed against the wood as if I could keep someone out with pure force of will. I dialed 911 with 2 fingers. voice brittle when I gave my address. It felt like hours before I heard the sirens, but it was maybe 20 minutes. I stood on the front porch in my slippers and bathrobe as 2 patrol cars rolled up, lights blinking orange and blue. An officer with kind eyes took my statement. Flip of the breaker, footprints, broken window well. He nodded gravely, then went inside with his flashlight. Luna circled my feet, whimpering. I rocked back and forth on my heels, staring at the pearly gray sky, absurdly grateful there was no thunder to hide my sobs. The officer emerged minutes later, shaking his head. "Nobody's here now," he said quietly. "No sign of a suspect, no fingerprints. But this window's definitely been tampered with. We'll bag for evidence." He placed evidence markers by the footprints and the shards of glass. I watched them work, stunned. My safe haven had been violated, my sanctuary breached while I sat typing away at my desk. I realized with a hollow pounding in my ears that whoever got in could have stayed all day. Watched me, listened to me, waited until my focus lapsed. Later, in the stale yellow glow of the police station's waiting room, I held a blanket around my shoulders, numb. The officer brought me a cup of tepid coffee. I thanked him with a shaky smile. I tried to make small talk, asked what else they could do if I should stay with a friend. He suggested a neighbor, but I shook my head. I wanted to go home. When I finally unlocked my front door again, Luna bolted inside and hid behind the couch. I switched on lights room by room, knees quaking. I checked every closet, every cabinet, even under the bed. Nothing out of place. No wallet missing, no computer stolen. But the sense of safety was gone, shredded like the glass in that window well. I spent the night on the sofa, wrapped in blankets, Luna curled in my lap, both of us listening to every creak and sigh the house made. The storm had passed, rain fretted against the gutters in gentle taps, but I couldn't sleep. My mind raced back to those footprints, to the boxes stacked like a ladder, to the thought that someone had been here, maybe just inches from me, hidden in shadows only I didn't dare explore. In the days that followed, I changed the locks. Twice. I bolted extra latches on windows. I invested in motion sensor lights for the perimeter, but nothing could mend the raw ache of vulnerability. Every time I hear the breaker click, I freeze. Every basement creak feels sinister. Every rainstorm writes the memory of that day across my nerves. I try to tell myself, you're safe now. But I know that sense of safety is an illusion. Walls are just wood and drywall. Glass is just glass. My home, my refuge, was permeable. It failed me. And until I can accept that, until I can stop imagining footsteps on the other side of every door, I'll live in a quiet panic, waiting for the next flicker of lights. Because the worst terror isn't what the intruder did, it's what they didn't do. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't break down doors. They slipped inside, uninvited, and left no voice but the echo of their possibility. And I still feel them here, watching, waiting, maybe hiding just beyond the edge of my flashlight's beam. I'm 24, and I used to live alone in a quiet corner unit of a small townhome complex. It was the kind of place where neighbors said hi in passing, but generally kept to themselves, the kind of place that felt safe. I moved in when I was 22 with a decent job, a solid routine, and my dog, Bear, a scruffy little rescue mutt with one ear that refused to stay down. That house felt like the first real thing I ever had to myself. It wasn't huge, but it was mine. The kitchen faced the back, with a sliding glass door that led to a narrow patch of fenced-in yard. Upstairs there were 2 bedrooms. I used one as an office. I was happy there. Or, I had been. That changed 3 months ago. It started on a Sunday night, just as the rain rolled in. I remember it because it had been sunny all day, and I'd planned to walk Bear before the storm hit. But I got lazy. It was my day off. I stayed in my pajamas, made tea, and curled up on the couch, scrolling TikTok, while the sky went from light gray to black in what felt like minutes. Around 8 p.m., Bear got up from where he was napping and stood at the sliding glass door, tail stiff, ears perked. He didn't bark, just stared. I paused my video and looked at him. "What is it, buddy?" He whined, low, barely audible. I got up and looked through the glass. Nothing but sheets of rain and the porch light bouncing off the wet pavement. The fence was locked, no movement, no reason to worry, but Bear didn't budge. Instead, he backed up slowly and trotted into the hallway. Then he stood at the front window, the one with the blinds I always kept closed. He did this weird thing. He leaned slightly toward the wall, tail down, head tilted like he was tracking something just out of sight. Then he looked at me and whined again. And that's when I saw the shadow. It passed across the closed blinds. My stomach dropped. I stood frozen, heart hammering in my throat, staring at the thin movement of slats like maybe I'd imagined it. The rain muffled everything, made the silence feel heavy. Bear growled. I crept to the front door, looked through the peephole, and there he was, a man, standing completely still inches from the window, just staring. He wasn't trying to break in. He wasn't moving at all. Just standing, head tilted, face partially obscured by the brim of a soaked hoodie. The moment my eye met his, even through the peephole, he moved. Not at me. He ran, fast. I stumbled backward and locked the deadbolt, even though I knew it was already locked. Bear barked once. I grabbed my phone and called the non-emergency police line, trying to keep my voice calm. They said they'd send someone to drive through the complex. I didn't expect much. They didn't find anyone. That should have been the end of it. A weird night. Maybe just a lost person or some creepy asshole messing around. But I couldn't shake it. I barely slept. Every sound felt amplified. Every creak of the house felt like a threat. By Monday, I'd convinced myself it was nothing. By Tuesday, I was trying to forget it. And by Wednesday night, I woke up to the sound of someone inside my home. Let me be clear, I lock everything. Every night. I check the front door, the back slider, the garage entry, and both upstairs windows. I'm obsessive about it, and that night had been no different. But at 3:47 a.m., I woke to the creak of the bottom stair. It wasn't loud, it wasn't aggressive, it was worse, it was slow. I froze. Bear was already up, sitting stiff on the edge of the bed, ears pinned, staring at the door, not barking, just shaking. Then I heard voices. 2 of them. Men. They weren't yelling, they weren't whispering either, just talking in a flat, steady tone, like someone trying not to wake you while still being heard. One said something like, "She's up." The other replied, "Just talk to her. Tell her we're here to help." I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. I just reached for my phone. Thank God it was right there. Locked myself in the closet and called 911. I tried to whisper, but the dispatcher told me she could barely hear me. Then I heard footsteps on the second floor. Heavy, deliberate, slow. The dispatcher told me to stay hidden. Officers were on their way. That's when one of the men knocked on my bedroom door. Knocked. 3 slow raps, and then softly, "We just want to talk." I didn't respond. I heard one of them say, "You let us in, remember?" I hadn't. I knew I hadn't. Then silence. Nothing for what felt like 10 minutes. No footsteps, no whispers, just the sound of my own heartbeat and Bear panting beside me in the dark closet. And then, the faint click of the front door closing. When the police arrived, they found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no open windows, but they found footprints, one clear set leading from the backyard through the wet grass to the front steps, and then away toward the road. But here's the part that still gets me. The other set of footprints stopped at my front door. No trail, no direction, just gone. The cops tried to explain it away. Said maybe one of the prints got washed away in the rain, or maybe the second person had stepped exactly in the first set. But they looked as confused as I felt. They didn't catch anyone. They never caught anyone. I didn't sleep for 3 nights after that. Moved in with my sister for a week. When I came back to pack up the house for good, I brought 2 friends with me. That's when we noticed something I'd missed. A small square piece of black electrical tape, tucked under the edge of the hallway mirror, like someone had marked it. I never put it there. I don't know what it means. Sometimes I tell myself it was a prank, a break-in that went weird, some drugged-out creeps who got scared off before anything worse happened. But I've been in a dozen apartments since then. I check the locks twice, sometimes 3 times a night. I keep a camera inside now. And Bear? He's never acted the same since. He still jumps at creaks, still stares too long at windows, and sometimes in the middle of the night he walks slowly up to the closet and just sits there, listening, like someone's waiting on the other side.